There it is. Now, you guys who are picking up on the talk on YouTube, uh, today we're going to do a practice that will radically reduce your stress, and but you'll need a pencil or pen and a couple pieces of paper because we're going to do our contemplative writing practice. Be very easy. You'll have no problem doing it. So we're going to pause the recording for a minute for you guys on YouTube to get a pen or pencil and some paper. Okay, so let's pause it'll be helpful. I'm going to repeat the introduction to the opening meditation period we had earlier this morning because I think it'll be helpful for us. It's a quote from Francis Weller, who's one of my great teachers, and he said, never think that you have nothing to contribute to the shaping of the future. Never think that you have nothing to contribute to the shaping of the future. You are needed. You are necessary. It is time to become immense. That line, it is time to become immense, is a challenge for today and for from going forward. What does he mean? It's time to become immense, immense. Well, that's what the soul practice is around today. We got to stop the share there. Yeah, there we go. Uh, we're working with stress today and how to radically reduce it. And stress is one of the things that contracts us. When Weller says our job is to become immense, he's talking about accessing the other part of consciousness, the other half of consciousness, which is the right brain, uh, and bringing in the heart and the soul. That's how you become immense because things are soul sized now. The things we face are immense problems, and so we have to match it up. There's no such thing as stress free living. Uh, there's just no such thing as long as you have a left brain. And those of you who have looked into whole brain living by Joe Bolte Taylor even a little bit know that we have these two hemispheres, the left brain and the right brain, and they both do different things. Okay. Uh, and if we're going to work on become flourishing and becoming immense, the challenges are soul size. We need to pull in the soul, and the heart and soul are really uh, based and connected to by the right brain. So, no such thing as stress-free living, as long as we have a left brain. Stress is the price human beings pay for having the amazing left brain. It is amazing. I'm talking to you now. Vivian's in France. People are listening to me later. All that technology, it comes from the left brain, and it is left brained. Uh, AI is just investing in even more left brain technology than we have now, and that's questionable whether that's balanced or not. But uh, if you can recall, and hopefully you listening on the YouTube have seen Jill Bolte Taylor's TED Talk called Stroke of Insight, or maybe read her Whole Brain Living book. When Jill had a stroke, she was a neurologist, a brain neurologist, neurological anatomist, and she had a stroke in her left brain, and her left brain went offline for 6 weeks. Now she felt physical pain, like when light came on, it burned her, etc. But she had no stress during that 6 weeks. She said, "Imagine 28 years of emotional baggage gone because that was all stored in the left brain." And she also felt living in the right brain for 6 weeks. She felt a sense of boundless immensity. She felt huge. She wondered how she'd ever get this huge being that she really was back into a small little body. Well, she eventually did. It took her 8 years to actually get her left brain functional again so she could really write about it. So we'll be working with the what gets in the way stress can block us from the immensity because when we're stressed, we contract. It's just natural. And if we have to become immense, we have to go in the other direction. So we have to look at what gets in the way of this relaxing into a sense of a bigger being, a being that's able to tackle what's happening today, personally, relationship wise, and planetary. Now, there's one metaphor that leads into this practice that we're going to do. I call it the backpack metaphor. And I got this metaphor teaching seventh graders 35 years ago, I guess would be the amount of years it was. And I had a seventh grade class that was so stressed out because of family dynamics, etc., that literally they couldn't learn. And and also, this was about the time, maybe it was 20 years ago, about the time that students started carrying backpacks. I taught 30 years in a classroom, and the first 15 years, everybody just carried books. But then, sort of coinciding with this stressed out seventh grade class, kids start walking in with backpacks. And so you had little 80-pound uh, seventh grade girls, you know, carrying 80 pounds on their back. And, so I made the connection. These guys are stressed out. Well, what are they carrying? And so I just did this experiment in my four classes, seventh and eighth grade class, they were all carrying backpacks. They said, what do you got in those backpacks? And so in every class, somebody dumped out their backpack in the middle of the floor. And they found out there was a lot of unnecessary items in the backpack. They even found food that had been in there for a while. So they were carrying much more than they needed to do. And I invented I was trying to figure out how to help these kids out. And so I invented a contemplative writing practice that actually went into my uh, contemplative journal, which was called the Integral Journal. It's called Downloadings. And and I want to walk you through it. And actually, we'll be able to by doing this. And you don't have to be a writer. Maybe you don't like writing. Maybe you never were good at writing in school. It's not that kind of writing. It's just going to be using a pen and paper to actually look into stress. Okay. Uh, so no problem with that. Uh, I had a totally different talk prepared, but 10 days ago, uh, after I did my morning sitting, I went over to my writing chair and I had all my writing stuff there. And I couldn't write even a single word. And so I sat with that. I got curious about it. And I mean, it wasn't like anything physical. It was just, there was a kind of paralysis there and I couldn't. And I said, well, isn't this interesting? I mean, I've been, I write every day after I sit, and oftentimes I don't feel like I have anything to say. And one day the one day I can remember that I wrote only one word. But I still wrote the word. I just put can't, CAN apostrophe T, and that was all I wrote that day. Well, I wasn't even getting to can't. So I was sitting there, just realizing it was like I was paralyzed. I said, "This is stress." And when I recognized that I was stressed, that stress was contracting me so much I couldn't even write a word. When I realized it was stress, I began to feel a sense of liberation oh, I know what to do for this. And so I started doing my downloading, saying what I hadn't done for quite a while. This is something I devised to help you first of all deal with the stress because stress constricts you. And I remember when I had both parents here who were both in dementia, and for 7 years. And during that stretch, I used this practice sometimes once a week, every couple of weeks. I hadn't used it for some months, and so I said, "Oh, I know what I do." And so, 30 minutes later, I had radically reduced the amount of stress I was feeling, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. And some of you who have written the Integral Journal, you will remember this. But it's probably time for all of us to do it again because we're in an unbelievable kind of morphic field that I've never been in. After when I was feeding back on it, after I sort of relieved three-quarters of my stress, again, you're not going to be stress free, unless you lose your left brain. Uh, but there's a big difference. And if you could reduce it by 75%, which this thing did to me, it's really radical how it does help. Well, then you can operate. You can operate. The purpose of this, and if you get my notes, the whole procedure and everything I'm going to walk you through will be there. But it's really to reduce stress, but also to use it as a wake-up call for self-discovery. You'll learn a lot about yourself. I learned a lot about myself about 10 days ago when I uh, worked with this section. So it's a twofer. You reduce stress and you sort of wake up. I woke up and say, well, gee, I'm stressed. The Tibetans have a famous saying. They say recognition and liberation is simultaneous. Well, it's sort of true. Didn't take me a half hour. But I don't know how long I've been carrying around that big backpack of stress, and this helped me put it down. Okay, so if you have a piece of paper there, just put downloadings on top, and I'm just going to literally talk you through it. And the first part of the procedure is called somatic downloading, downloading from the body itself. So you can just put downloading there just as a particular, and this has a specific procedure to it. And I'll just if you have your pen ready and your paper there, then you can just let your eyes close, and I'll talk you through this. Okay, uh, with eyes closed, just let your awareness settle into your neck and shoulders. Just move your awareness there. Awareness is a great tool. You can move it around. It's not thinking, it's bigger than thinking, it's awareness. So move your awareness to your neck and shoulders and feel how that's where we locate a lot of stress. And just feel what they feel like now. Tight, however, you can move them a little bit. People do sometimes. Feel the weight of all the anxieties and all the regrets you are currently shouldering. They settle in the shoulders and the neck region. And there's something quite interesting about that. Uh, why don't we call it shouldering? Because that's how it's spelled. The shoulder. It's really the shoulder, and all the shoulds of life. I should have done this. They sort of settle in there. That sort of goes along with stress. Is and just stay with the shoulders, and then extend the awareness to the whole body, all the way down to your feet on the floor, and just be aware of the body for a moment. Our screensaver, it was a quote from Rabia, the 9th century Sufi poetess and adept, and she said, tell me where your body hurts, God said. And my body broke into tears. So we want to feel, be aware of the body, where it's tight, maybe where it hurts. This is a somatic thing we're doing. It's not so much in the mind. The mind is actually where stress originates, but we're going to use the body to help us see what we're stressing about. Okay. And now, just as you sit, this is a bit like, waiting for something to come to you, to surface, to float up. As you sit with just awareness in the body, all of a sudden, something will float up. It's either an anxiety that you have about the future, or it's a regret from the past, or guilt, or something from the future or the past, anxiety or regret starts to float up. And as these concerns surface, you can open your eyes. First one, put number one. You number these, and just put a short phrase about it. A short phrase about it. Oh, worried about if it snows and my flight is canceled. Something like that. or uh, regretting that conversation I had with Pam. Whatever it is, you just put one and just put a short phrase. You don't have to explain it, just enough to put it into words what floated up. And again, it'll be an anxiety from for the future, something that might happen, is about to happen, that you're afraid will happen, or it will be something from the past. That's just how stress is structured, past and future. Okay. So as these things come up, just simply put a number down. Then the next one comes up true. You open your eyes and just jot something. Um, I need to repair the roof. I don't have the money. So just you can just put repairing the roof to then go back down. So it's a lot of going back and forth for a few minutes, and we'll have some quiet. And just when something comes up, you're either anxious about, you're worried about it for the future, or you're regretting something from the past. Just put another number down and see how many you list. So that's strictly what you're looking for, and the body will give them to you. Some that are aware, you're aware of right away. They're already in your consciousness will. So you might list two or three, but then go back to the body. The body holds them all, and you'll know. Your body will know. And we're going to take about 5 minutes for this. That's usually the amount of time you need. So just as something comes up, an anxiety or regret, something you're worried about or you're regretting or anxious about, even afraid might happen, just put the number down. It's important number, put a number in the left column and just list it. Okay, so we're going to take 5 minutes for this. See what comes up in 5 minutes. Most get in. If there's nothing else, if you feel like that's it, well, that's fine. Just sit and rest. You can look at the list. Maybe one or two more things come. Sneaky. Stress is sneaky. It hides in every cell of your body, you see. Those concerns surface, just download them onto the page. Keep listening until your body feels like there's no more up there. No more to unload onto the page. We'll take a few more minutes for this in the silence. Just listen to the body. It'll give it all of them to you if you're patient. Your list is private. Don't worry about it. You're not going to have to read your list or anything. So be totally honest. When it comes up, just list it. Again, listening to the body, just letting go of any thinking, and then just let it float up. Your body wants to rid itself of these things. It's been carrying them for when I first did this for decades. So taking a break. Just close your eyes and listen if nothing's coming to you. And then something floats up, then open it and just jot it quickly. Number and a phrase, just so you know what it means. Taxes. whatever you're anxious about, or regret, future or past. Maybe it's neither. Maybe it's something right now. Don't worry about it. Just list it if it comes up. Maybe there's something you feel you should be doing now instead of being at this retreat. We'll list that. Back and forth from eyes closed to listening with the pen in your hand, just writing a brief phrase. We'll take a couple more minutes. Putting your awareness in the body. If there's nothing coming, just put your awareness in the body. And then something comes up that you're stressed out about, worried about, regret, perhaps. And if not, just rest. Scan your body. Is there anything it's still holding? Sneaky, stress is sneaky. You get the really biggest things when you think you've got the list done. So we're going to take a minute or two more. Just doesn't matter how many you have listed. Just so you're listening to the body and emptying, giving the body a break. Okay, kid, just still stay in that state as I segue us to the a really interesting next jump in this. Uh, when 10 days ago, when I wrote this, I had 17 items down, which is high for me. Uh, but when I did it with the junior high kids, the same way I'm doing it with you, we had, like we have now, about 17 minutes to go further with it. And what this one girl was still writing, and she was still writing through this next phase, and so I asked people to give me a show of hands how many of you had single digits numbers. I didn't ask them for content or how many of you were in the double digits. And this girl was writing through all this, and I said, Rachel, I said, are you still downloading? She says, oh yeah. And I said, well, would you mind telling me how many you got at this more point? She says, yeah, 54, and I'm not done yet. And everybody was like, she became a little rock star for a day. But that explained a lot about her, what she was carrying. This next part, this is the second part of this practice. It's called X-raying your list. You can just put that down now, X-raying your list. And what we're X-raying it for two things. And you'll be able, if you can, wherever your numbers are, if hopefully you have a little space somewhere to the left of them. We were always doing this on loose leaf so that you have a margin. So as you go down your list, first X-ray is X-ray it for time. If it's something that's happened already in the past, you regret this, you fight your head with your wife or whatever, you put a P because it happened in the past. And if it might still be, resonating with you, but let's X-ray for time. And if it's something that you're afraid might happen tomorrow or in a week or whatever, put an F for the future. So go down your list, and some of them they're right now, and so they don't come. So you don't put anything there, but just put a P if it's a past event, if it happened in the past, and or an F if it's in the future. So quickly just sort of X-ray it for time and put a little P or an F, and if you're in doubt, leave it blank. If you say, "Oh, I don't know," it seems like, well, I don't know. Okay, so let's take just. You can do this pretty quickly. It's pretty obvious if it's coming from the past, it's regretting something in the past, or if it's worried or anxious about something that may happen in the future. So we're putting a PNF, X-raying it for time. And if you can't figure that out, just leave it blank and just move on to the next one. And so just be looking for those ones that you're sure, well, yeah, it's a past event or it's a future event that I'm worried about. I'll give you another minute for this. And the interesting ones might be the ones that you can't tell if it's past or future. That's all right. It happens. There's a reason for that. But for sure, if you're if you're stressing out about something that happened in the past or something that might happen in the future, even though if you're sure it's going to happen in the future, it's still future. So put a F, pure F. It's usually pretty obvious. If it isn't obvious, then no letter. Okay, now the second X-ray is the business model, and you might jot this down somewhere. Uh, this is what I call the business model. There's three kinds of business. There's my business, there's somebody else's business, or there's God's business. Let me explain those terms. It's clearly, there's my business or there's your business. There's my business or Pam's business. There's my business or somebody else's business. And then there's what I call God's business, which is something that is beyond what any individual can deal with. If you get stressed out about the stock market, how it's going up or down, or stressed out about prices of eggs, or stressed out about, bombs being dropped on planes in the Caribbean. There's all kinds of things that are bigger than what you can do. Any one person can do, even a president or, these big, powerful, billionaires. You can't stop climate change by yourself. So there's my business, there's somebody else's business, your wife, your husband, your boss, and then there's God's business, which, doesn't have to be a divinity. It just means business that's bigger than so big that no one person can deal with it. Okay. Now, the way I'm designed as a one on the Enneagram is to do all three of those, to do my business, to do my wife's business, my kids' business, and then even God's business. I should be able to feed all the people in Gaza. I should be able to stop that. that's how ones are designed, and a lot of people are designed. Other numbers are designed that way too. We all have a little bit of that. Now, when you're doing somebody else's business or God's business, you're creating stress that doesn't need to be there. I learned this after 54 years of marriage that I learned what my business was and what Pam's business was. And I do not stray very often to tell her what she should be doing. I learned from that, but it took decades because this is tricky. We're wired to do other people's business. If you're a two on the Enneagram, you are everybody else's business, okay, etc. Now, God's business, none of us could do that. There's things that are too big, yet we're still stressed out about them. Doesn't mean you don't feel compassion. It doesn't mean there's nothing you can do to maybe help, but you can't, things you can't stop. Climate change is the best example of that. We all have something we can do, but to stop it now, no. So so go down your list and as best you can, even if you have an S or an F or whatever, Anna, X-ray it for business. Is it somebody else's business? You put an S. Your wife, your husband, the mayor, the president. If it's somebody else's business, put an S. Or if it's God's business, if it's this thing that's so vast, no one, you don't need to be taking it on. But then put a G. So S and G are the next two letters. It's somebody else's business. And look at this. It's very hard for twos on the Enneagram to realize that everything isn't their business. And ones. Yeah. So but do an S or a G. So your X may X you're X-raying it for the business model. You're you're not creating any stress when you're doing your own business. But when you start to do somebody else's business, or you think you have to solve these huge problems. Unfortunately, one on the Enneagram, you think you're on the hook for all of them. That's why ones and twos and threes are amongst the most stressed out people of the Enneagram because you really do feel ones and twos and threes somehow carry it all. But other people carry too much, especially if you think your wife or your husband or your kids, when your kids are 30 and you still think you have to, do their business for them. Yeah. Yeah. So look at that. So now as you go through, and sometimes again, if you're not clear, don't put anything. Okay. Now I had 17 uh, things on my list, which was so overwhelming in some of them that I just was so stressed out I couldn't do anything. After I did these two X-rays, there was four on the list that had no letters. You want to circle those numbers, and then you've seen in most cases, for me, 4 out of 17 was 75% of the things was not my business now. Might be my business tomorrow, but it's not my business now. If you're minding your own business now, you aren't creating any extra stress. It's amazing. And this is what the Buddha talks about when he talks about suffering or dukkha. It's extra stress that is created because we are confused about the past and future. Uh, that's why minding your own business now. Now, tomorrow, it might be your business, but for right now, you know, I stress out about I stress out in advance that our wood supply, for instance, that was one of my 17. I was stressed out that the wood's not going to last for the winter because it's been very cold now. Well, I don't know. But it's not something that I need to be stressed out about now. You know, the winter's a long time. A lot of things can happen. So mind, and get this down, when I mind my own business now, like today, this moment, you're not creating, you're not adding any stress. When you mind your anybody else's, somebody else's business or God's business, you are creating a terrific amount of stress. Now, I'll bet your list is shorter and sometimes radically shorter. Mine was getting rid of 75. I didn't have to load those 13 things back in my backpack. I did have four things that were my business that day. It was a Wednesday. And so those I could put back in the backpack. And actually, on that day, I knocked out all four of those, which felt really good. But sometimes you don't know what your business is now. You're just relating to the whole bunch of it, and you just feel like it's too much. That's one of the secrets of why people procrastinate. I was procrastinating because it just seemed like too much. I couldn't do anything. But when you say, "Oh, I only got four things to do," and this had to be done first, boom, 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 I knocked them all out, and they've been waiting to be done. You know, yeah. Now, for the time we have left, we have about 5, 6 minutes left. This is the third thing you do, and it's already been happening. Record any feedback that comes from this practice, and that means how you feel emotionally about your list and about the whole practice, insights that you've gotten, maybe images came to you, connections or questions. Yeah, and the questions are important as well, because all of that's feedback. So let's take a few minutes to record anything that comes to you right now. Uh, Feedback from doing this practice, emotions, insights, images, connections that you never realized before, or maybe questions. We'll take 3, 4 minutes for that, and then we'll close it off. And maybe another thing is popping out now. Add it to the list if it's just coming to you now, because that's how this happens. It's not a serial thing. In other words, things pop out all the time. So if things keep popping out, add them to the list. Yeah, but let's just basically take time to pull back from it a little bit and see what the emotions you're having now about this procedure, about yourself, what your relationship to stress, insights, images, connections, or questions. We'll take 2, 3 minutes for that. Okay. Just a few final words about this is, it just happens. It's a natural. Dust never sleeps. Rust never sleeps. Stress never sleeps because we have a left brain. We're always thinking ahead or going back, and we're a lot of times creating. So it's helpful to have this practice to do when you notice it, when things are excessive. We're going to take a break in a minute and then come back and do a basic meditation practice where if you build that into your day, that can release stress every day just because you're leaving the past and the future where you're focused on now, and you're just being there. There is no business. There's nothing to be doing, and so it's a sort of slow stress release over time. But still, I mean, I'm doing this for 50 years, and I was stressed out. Yeah, so it helped to have this as a kind of a practice that you can use as well. And again, it'll be in the notes. It's worth your time. For me, it took a half hour. We spent about that time here to put stress in its place, and that's on paper. And then I knew the things I had to do that were my business that day, you see. Very interesting. Now, I want to just add with the image just for a minute or two of the six morphic fields of energy that we live in, every one of us right now. First of all, there's the hugest field is the planet itself. And it's under stress. Climate change is how it looks, but it's trying to reset itself because of the excess heat that we're putting into the atmosphere. Uh, that's the hugest morphic field. Morphic field just means a field of energies we live in. And then if you get a little smaller but still huge, it's the energy and the field of our nation, France, America, what's going on in the nation and what's going on in the culture. These are huge things that we're in, whether we like it or not. And then, your local neighborhood, Bardstown, my neighbors and whatever. And then your family itself. These are all fields of energy that you're dealing with. We just don't know it. And so there's a family, and then individually, what's going on with you on the inside. And then finally, the holidays. So those are six morphic fields. We blame everything about the holidays, but actually, we're so stressed out by the time the sixth thing comes up that we just say, I can't deal with it. Push it. Some of the holidays are sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. Perhaps that's why it was for me. Okay. So these are all fields of energy we live in all the time, and all of them are bigger than me. And so we start to recognize what it was. Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, we'll come back in about 15 minutes, about 15 after the hour, to just sit with all of this um and just rest with it and just let it be, and your soul will have time to integrate all this information, and so will your heart. Okay, so see you back at 15 after the hour.